Hi, I'm Staci Alden, and today I'm going to show you 4 lower body exercises you can do with rotator discs from Balanced Body. I am going to be using the light resistance, the 9-inch ones. There's also larger and higher resistance, as well as 0 resistance rotator discs. For this particular set of exercises, I do recommend having a little bit of resistance to help make sure that we're not over-rotating or overextending in the hips, knees, or ankles. First, we will go ahead and start standing with our rotator disc. You do want to make sure you are on a carpeted surface or something that has some stickiness to it, like a yoga mat, so that you can make sure that the rotator discs don't slide on the hardwood floors. So one foot is going to start on the rotator disc. The other foot I want to be nice and wide in a nice wide squat. So we're gonna start with just one rotator disc. I have the other one off to the side ready to go for future exercises. But our first lower body exercise is going to be maintaining this leg, staying nice and still. And as we squat down, the rotation, external rotation, should happen in this one leg and stand up tall. And you may need to reposition either this outside foot or the rotator disc itself to make sure that you're in a good position for that squat. So as you drop the hips, we're just rotating the outside leg with that rotator disc underneath it, feeling the resistance against that rotator disc. And then you can even hold at the bottom, same exercise, but then hold that rotation in and out. So you're holding that rotation, belly is pulled in, we're tall through the spine, hands can be in front of us just for a little bit of balance or off to the side. And notice how I'm just doing some small external rotation with that leg. You also will notice on the rotator discs that it's almost like a compass. There's little markings as to where the return is and then how far you're adding that rotation. So over time, you can see if that rotation gets bigger, you start to build mobility and strength in that external rotation. Last one, and then come to stand. Now we'll grab both rotator discs, standing on both of them for a narrow stance. Similar to what you would do in a bar class, we're just going to find that narrow stance, find home or find the return, and then do some external rotation. So once you find home or where you're kind of reset, you might already notice where you start to shift or move. And that is very valuable feedback for us to get an idea of where we tend to go, as our bodies are always, most of us, pretty imbalanced. So now let's hold neutral. So those feet are forward. We got to reset until we find where we're at neutral with those rotator discs. And I'm noticing one is a little further forward than the other, so making sure they're even as well. So from here, hips underneath the shoulders, ankles underneath the hips, hands can go on the waist, but we're just going to open the toes out and bring them together back to neutral. So we're feeling external rotation in the hips, big squeeze in the back of the glutes. Growing taller, dropping the shoulders, and maybe we challenge ourselves to not return to base or that home where the resistance releases, and maybe as we close the toes together, we keep resistance going. So we're constantly working through the external rotators of the hip. So this is great for you to build those postural muscles to help us with athletic movements, or even just the simple things like climbing the stairs, carrying our groceries. Really important to be able to stand tall and get those external rotators working. Another way to work our internal rotators here is to actually turn the feet in. We don't do that very often, but you're gonna find and discover some new muscles. And of course, as with anything, always keeping those knees soft. So we're not hyperextending those knees and making sure that the movement is coming from the hips, not the knee joint. And we're not experiencing any pain. Those are first 2 exercises, the wide squat with one rotator disc, the narrow squat with the narrow stance with both rotator discs, internal and external rotation. Next, we'll move to the plank. So finding the end of our mat, we're moving into a plank position. Feet are going to go on the rotator disc. You have a couple of options. If plank is something you're still working on strengthening, I'm gonna scoot this down so I have room. You can put one foot on the rotator disc and stay kneeling. So if it's too challenging to come up onto both feet, which we'll do in a little bit, you can keep that knee down. So what we're working here is plantar flexion and dorsiflexion. So you're pushing, that's plantar, pressing the toes away, working to point the toes, and then flexing the foot toward your face. So we're here, push away, pull back. Notice how my foot is on the outside of the rotator disc, so I'm only pulling and moving the outside of that rotator disc. We don't want to put it in the middle, or we're not going to be able to move the ankle. So that's our first option in plank with the foot, with one leg, moving through the ankle, or we can find that full plank, challenging, point and flex. We can also go alternating, point and flex, alternating feet. And get a few repetitions. You could even have one foot on the ground, one foot on the disc in that plank. Point, flex, and then switch sides. Our final exercise is on our back. So flipping onto your back, heels or feet go on the rotator discs. Find that distance so that you have that external rotation as you come up. So we're trying to find hip distance apart with those rotator discs. As you come up with your hips, you're opening the toes, big squeeze, external rotation, come back down. We want to make sure we're pressing through the hands, the upper back, lifting, extending, rotating, coming back down with control. Couple more just to feel where we want to feel those muscles, hamstrings, glutes. Relax through the shoulders, relax through the neck. And we can even hold at the top, similar to what we did in the squat, and just internally and externally rotate. Come back down. Those are your 4 exercises with the rotator discs. Give them a try and have them help you enhance some of your other strength training exercises you do, needing those smaller internal and external muscles of the hips, knees, and ankles.